So it looks like picks and bans are done, and we can discuss them, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, go for it.
So on blue team, we have Orianna mid, Tryndamere top, Leona and Jinx on bot lane, and Amumu in the jungle. Bans are Kha'Zix, Vi, and Pantheon, all strong jungle picks there. So with an Amumu on their team, those are smart bans, and junglers are very influential right now, and those are all very strong picks. On purple team, we have Victor mid, Yorick top, Vayne and Morgana in bot lane, and Warwick in the jungle. Bans are LeBlanc, Yasuo, and Renekton. So purple team took a different approach to bans. Instead of banning junglers, they banned strong laners, and LeBlanc, Yasuo, and Renekton are all bullies in their respective lanes. As for comps, I really like blue team's bot lane, and I really like purple team's bot lane. I like the Morgana pick a lot. The Morgana pick was clearly a response to Leona, and that's a really smart reaction, because Morgana doesn't necessarily hard counter Leona, but her Black Shield, her binding, does dampen her effectiveness quite a lot. And Vayne needs to farm, Vayne needs protection, so Morgana was a really smart pick there.
My curiosity here is how well are they going to really be able to protect that Vayne come late game? It's definitely a possibility that they're going to be a little bit snowballed and they're not going to have any issues. And they do have the Warwick to lock down a single target. They have the Morgana's ult and the Black Shield, and Victor has the stun field. The Victor stun field is actually very highly underrated to counter dive comps. He's not very good at locking down enemies who are not trying to dive in, but if you're trying to dive onto a carry and Victor's in range, he can cancel that engage very, very easily. So I like their picks in order to defend the Vayne, but looking at the enemy team, they do have some good hard engage with the Leona Amumu, then combining that with the Orianna ult, or Tryndamere. If Tryndamere gets ahead, he could ideally just walk straight at Vayne and just clean up. That'll be interesting, and it'll be something to watch for.
Someone was discussing jungling, and I really like the Amumu pick on blue team. I like the Amumu pick because it gives them solid initiation, it gives them lockdown. Amumu has great synergy with Orianna as a ball delivery system. So Amumu, I feel like, looked at his team comp, and he chose a pick that really synergizes with their strengths, and that's really smart. Junglers should try to solve problems with team comp and solidify strengths, and Amumu is a great pick for those.
For sure, and assuming Amumu can get farmed, it's going to do a lot of damage. Not that I would suggest going full AP Amumu, but having a Sunfire cape, maybe having a little bit of AP built into the build late game, that is pretty powerful. People highly underestimate his damage and his scaling.
Meanwhile, the Warwick pick, I'm a little underwhelmed with the Warwick pick, to be honest. Warwick as a top lane has been quite strong. As a jungler, though, he's very safe, but I don't know how effective he is. Pre-6, his ganks are not very strong or scary, and he's a very short-range initiator, and so I'm a little worried about his potential effectiveness.
I just want to offer a couple comments towards chat here. We see some people just sort of shit-talking various champion picks and stuff, and you're welcome to your opinions, and we don't want people to feel like we're just like abusing them and being like, no, you can't say this, you can't do that, you can't do this. But this is a constructive environment for people to focus on improving their gameplay. So if you're here and you're going to just be insulting others, making rude jokes, calling people trash or champions trash, that's not really the right environment to you. So again, nothing super urgent, but I just want to remind people before we get into this workshop game, just because I won't be able to check the chat as often.
Yep, if you want to watch people just throw themselves at the mercy of bronze, go watch Salty Teemo, and you can be as rude as you want in that stream.
For sure. Now, we are going to do the giveaway here in a second. Okay, I'm getting all sorts of horrible Twitch messages, and it's just people spamming, and it has no use to me. Okay, I just wanted to make sure there was nothing urgent being PM'd to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do the giveaway. This is your last chance to enter. Very, very last chance to enter. Keyword is workshop. You must be following the stream in order to win.
While we wait to load, Darkshade Reaper is asking, do you have any tips for jungle? The jungler should be helping lanes that he has the most chance to help. So for instance, a top lane, your top laner is against a 20-0-0 Riven, you're not going to be able to help, you're just going to give Riven a double kill. So you should help bot or mid snowball instead, as a countermeasure. If you can't gank any lane, your job is to go harass the enemy jungler, fight him in his jungle, steal his buffs, and so on. Finally, keep timers. Buffs, as in red or blue, are 5 minutes, dragon is 6 minutes, and baron is 7 minutes.
It's also worth noting that reminding your team when buffs or objectives are coming up is a huge deal, because that lets you clear out wards, it lets you get in position in order to take the objective, rather than just being like, oh my god guys, dragon's up, why aren't you here? Well, did you warn them? Did you ask for help? Did you explain what needs to happen in order to secure that objective? Obviously, it's solo queue. You need to sort of be leading your team. You can't just expect them to know exactly what to do every game. You're going to end up with bad players, you're going to end up with trolls, you're going to end up with AFKers. That's just part of the game. And that happens at all ratings. So complaining, oh my god, I can't get out of bronze because, or I can't get out of silver, or whatever rating, because of bad players. No, you are the consistent match in your games, and you need to work on fixing your mistakes. And mistakes aren't just gameplay related. They're attitude mistakes, they're communication mistakes, they're decision making. So we'll just leave that at that. So I'm going to actually draw the giveaway right now because we are loaded into the game. The winner is Dynasty Ari. Congratulations. I know you've been around here quite a few times.
Nice.
Just double checking that he is on North American server. I know he is, but I just want to validate that before I send the prize. And the reason being is that RP cards only work on North America. They're region locked. They remove the ability to claim them cross-server.
I have a quick question for you as a mid lane player. You talk a lot about bringing barrier on certain mid lanes such as Vel'Koz and Lux. I'm wondering if you would recommend the same thing for Orianna as well.
It really depends on your matchup, but generally speaking, yes. Barrier is essentially the counter to kill lanes. Counter to anyone who needs to snowball. You just get to shut them down because you don't let them fight you.
So starting items, we're seeing that both Victor and Yorick started with a flask and potions. That's a bit unusual to see two flasks on one team, but clearly both Yorick and Victor are planning to farm lane all day and not go back until absolutely necessary. Vayne has a D-Blade and a pot. Morgana has Spell Thief's Edge. Warwick is AFK, so we're seeing a pause come out. Then we're seeing Orianna start with a magic resist item and potions, which I'm not 100% sure if that's wise. I think D-Ring is probably a better all-rounder item.
Yeah, I don't like Flask on a lot of mid laners these days. Like, honestly, Doran's Ring is just so powerful if you're using it properly. And if you're not using it properly, that just means you need to work on your last hitting.
And for the no magic mantle start on Orianna, you're not going to get any magic, mana sustain out of that. I believe she's going to build it into a chalice, and she's trying to get a head start on that. But D-Ring offers a bit of defense, it offers sustain. I just feel like it's an all-around superior pick.
Okay, so Dynasty Ari, that RP code should be in your inventory now.
So Leona went, someone's asking about masteries. Leona went 0-21-9 masteries, Morg went offensive masteries.
I don't like 2109 on supports. Personally, I would go no more than, I think it's like 13 points in offense. And the point of that is that you get increased damage to low health champions. So you're better at finishing champions. You're better at essentially winning duels. Because bot lane, you kind of need to be able to pick off one target, and then you can collapse onto the second one, or simply retreat and cancel the engage.
Right, I believe Morgana's thought process is to really enhance her strengths as a caster. Unfortunately, I think it's just not ideal.
In the process, she's giving up the Potion Mastery, Starting Gold Mastery, and I believe also giving up the Gold on Hit Mastery. Yeah, that's just a lot of advantages she could be getting. Personally, I prefer a Ruby Crystal start bot lane. On Morgana, it's normal to go Spell Thieves, though. Leona, I would not have started good GP10. Morgana way too far up and is going to get engaged onto. As Morgana, you need to remember that you are very, very squishy, and you also very cooldown reliant. So if your Dark Binding is down, you have no way to disengage that fight. You're forced to flash. You're forced to use Exhaust or a Black Shield. Even Black Shield oftentimes won't save you. So you need to be very, very careful with your positioning if you're going to be playing that.
Right, Morgana should be approached a little like a Zyra. You have excellent disengage potential, you have excellent kill potential, you have fantastic AoE, but if somebody is in your face and you don't have cooldowns, you're dead, period. I'm kind of surprised Leona isn't banned more in workshop games. Every time we see a Leona in bot lane, she ends up being a game-changing force.
And that boils down to just the punishment that she can put out for people who are out of position. That's why Leona and Thresh are so godly in solo queue, because they literally just say, hey, you're out of position, I'm punishing it, boom. Carry is now fed. We see top lane Yorick and Tryndamere just brawling it out a little bit. Tryndamere tends to come out just a little bit ahead in these duels, and then was able to turn back on and finish up the kill in this case. And that boils down to Yorick just overestimating his own kill potential. He's always trying to trade versus this Tryndamere, which is fine when you have a flask start. But when you're that low and you're in kill range, that's just how things are going to run here. You're going to end up being taken down.
So on bot lane, we had Blue's jungler, Mumu, swing around and force Vayne out of lane. It's important to remember that you don't always have to get a kill for a gank to be effective. Vayne was forced to go back. She's 10 CS down on Jinx now, so Jinx has about a kill advantage worth of gold. She has the same gold advantage as if she had killed Vayne. So a lot of people get really greedy, they tower dive, they blow everything trying to get that kill. Blue bot lane made a smart choice and just accepting that Vayne had to go back and playing fairly cautiously, but pushing the advantage.
And especially bot lane, having that experience advantage, same goes for mid lane to be honest, but having that experience advantage is massive. The amount of stats you get for leveling up, I believe at level 1 is somewhere in the range of about 400-ish gold per champion. It's like 350 or 400 gold in stats per level. So hitting that level 2 first is massive. You've just got a huge advantage, and you need to use that. So bot lane, that's what got the Morgana killed. She was level 1 versus level 2. She was also out of position and wasted a Dark Binding. But the decision for Leona and Jinx to go all in right as they hit level 2 was a very, very strong decision. And you need to be able to even that out. And same as you mentioned with sending Vayne back. That gank was a huge success because it puts her behind in experience. Also, blowing summoner skills is a huge advantage. When I'm playing mid lane, if a jungler can come and blow flash, I'm just like, awesome gank. I'm so happy with you right now. Because being up a flash is usually the same as being up a kill. Because they can't play aggressively then. They can't punish you as easily. And you can punish them far more easily.
It's also important to note that if Vayne was against, let's say, a Caitlyn, a Draven, a Graves, a Misfortune, her being behind would not be that big a deal. But Jinx is also a hyper carry in late game. She scales not quite as effectively as Vayne, but Vayne can't rely on a lose lane win game strategy. She is going to be really behind all game if she doesn't find some way to recover.
We see a good Black Shield coming out from Morgana, able to disengage on the Vayne, and that's just followed up by quick Condemn into the wall, just completely cancelling out that fight. We see Tryndamere going aggressive onto Warwick, gets the flash and the kill, so that's actually really, really strong, because Warwick not having flash, when he hits level 6, his ganks aren't going to be nearly as deadly, because he has no way to sort of 100% ensure that he gets that all off. Alt
I'm
off.
I'm wondering if Tryndamere knew Warwick was there. He has no vision. I believe that Tryndamere was trying to farm past the tower. He's effectively ignoring Yorick at this point, unless Yorick is in a position where Tryndamere can just straight up murder him. So I believe Tryndamere was going for golems, going for the wave of minions beyond the tower, and he's just playing out and out balls to the wall.
And that's definitely how you want to be playing versus a Yorick. You don't really want to trade versus him. You just say, yeah, you're an annoying lane bully. I'm going to go farm now. And that, unless Yorick is super fed or you're super out of position, then he's not that effective come mid to late game. Yes, he still has his ult, and it's a very strong teamfight tool, especially if your AD carry is ahead. But it's not the amazing AoE hyper carry. It's not like having a super late game Jax, where even if shut down a little bit, if you're farmed, if you're really late game and have a full build, he's going to do a lot of damage.
So, mid lane, I just want to discuss that shortly. We discussed how Orianna started with a null magic mantle. Victor started with a flask. And Victor was at an early disadvantage. He was down some CS because Orianna was able to just minimize his damage with her mantle. The thing is, Orianna, before getting blue, was constantly out of mana, and Victor has a pretty good supply. So once Orianna depletes her mana pool with no way to sustain it, she's kind of a sitting duck.
Mm-hmm. Just commenting on this Victor's positioning and everything, he tends to stand still a lot. I'm not a fan of that, especially versus Orianna, where you constantly want to be moving a little bit, where you're saying like, hey, I'm coming at you, but no, I'm not really. Oh, I'm going to be on this side of the minions, you should try and use the skill on me, but no, I'm actually over here. And try and make her waste those resources, make her not able to hit you. And at this point, he's just eating a lot of harass because he is just sort of standing there and hitting the wave.
Just a quick note, Leona picked up a Sightstone after her Tier 1 gold generation item, and that's a very smart decision. Sightstone is insanely gold efficient.
I always like to say it's the best gold generation item in the game, because it is.
Right, it also allows you to switch out your yellow for a red trinket, which I believe she did, and that's going to give blue team a huge vision advantage on bottom. We're also seeing Amumu come in, and we're seeing really the strength of Amumu as a jungler here. He has ganking potential, he has lockdown potential. He's weak to invades, but purple team hasn't taken advantage of that at all.
For sure. Now that fight was a little bit sloppy bot lane. They could have technically finished off the Vayne. They just weren't on the same page. Leona had ult, but Amumu had already backed out. Then after they'd used the ult, Jinx tried to fight, and then they tried to dive. No one really got caught out because of it, but it's still something to examine in your gameplay and say, okay, was this a communication issue? Was it like an awareness issue where you're not realizing your allies are level 6? And then just try and work on that a little bit over time. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to work with your team and set up these plays.
Someone is asking whether you should level Q or W first on Orianna, and I'm actually going to say that you should level Q or E first, and I'll explain why. You might think E doesn't do any damage, but E actually does do damage on the return path. So let's say Orianna moves her ball, and then she hits E and it goes back to her. If it hits someone on the way, E affects the damage it does on the return trip. The flat defenses and the shield are also super helpful for helping out in lanes where she's getting bullied and give her survivability. If she is the bully, then she should max Q.
I agree with that to an extent, yes. W is very, very mana costly. Yes, it has good burst, but for it to be worthwhile, you need to already be really far ahead. And if you're that far ahead, you probably already have enough points in your skills. So it just seems a little risky to max W generally. Maxing Q is very, very strong for poke and harass lanes, whereas, as you mentioned, if you're versus, let's say, a LeBlanc, where your only goal really is not dying, you're there to pick up farm, harass a little bit, but mostly just not die. In that case, having that flat defense, having that increased shield, is pretty useful.
I just want to discuss something. Right now we have Tryndamere 4-0-0 at 11 minutes and 80 farm. That's 20 farm up on Yorick, which is equivalent to about 1.5 or 2 champion kills. Amumu isn't helping Tryndamere. He doesn't need to. Instead, Amumu is helping bot lane Snowball, which would otherwise be problematic. So Amumu is going, top lane doesn't need my help. I'm going to let top lane chill, and I'm going to help everyone else Snowball.
We see a really good gank coming in. Victor waits until Warwick drops his ult so that he can follow up with his W. My concern in that play is that he didn't drop his ult earlier because the dot over time is a very large amount of damage. So dropping the ult at the beginning of your combo is going to increase the actual amount of damage you do significantly. And the CC component of it is only a half-second silence. It's more of a I broke your channeled skill sort of an idea. So I personally feel that he should use the ult at the beginning of the fight, but overall it was still a good pickup.
Yorick swinging around bot. Bot is warded. He sees blue retreat and then figure wide retreat. We can just murder Yorick. And Yorick's kind of dancing around in the river, and I really dislike that decision. I dislike that decision because he's not going to pick up a kill. He doesn't have his ult. And I dislike it because he's wasting time. Even if he doesn't die, which it looks like he will, he's still just wasting valuable time. He's behind Amumu significantly. I would rather he go and farm rather than dance around and hopefully maybe get a kill one day.
So in this fight, Victor did rush his stun field just a little bit. Morgana now catching them out with a very nicely placed ult. This should be a double kill for Vayne, honestly. Orianna does show up and is able to pick up a kill with her W. So in this case, she is maxing W, which is a lot of burst, but a little bit less ideal in terms of mana efficiency.
We're seeing Vayne just tumbling for all she's worth. She picks up a couple kills.
I'm very surprised she didn't chase that. I'm assuming she was scared that Amumu was going to be there, but he was up top lane. I think they could have picked that up very, very quickly.
So
another pause.
Purple Team does make a bit of a comeback. Let's talk a little about how Purple Team should approach the game from here. So they do have a couple kills. They do have really good team fight potential, as Morgana just showed. The thing is, they're significantly behind. They have Tryndamere and Jinx fed. Let's talk about maybe what they could do at this point in the game to try to make a comeback.
At this point, they really need to get some wards in through all of the aspects of the jungle. At this point, blue team has relatively good wards. They have some in their own jungle, they have some in the enemy jungle, and I'm assuming Leona is going to replace some soon. Seeing as she is going back to base, going to get those Sightstone charges, and I would expect her to start placing some around key objectives. But look at they have 3 in the top Sora side of the map. That leaves them pretty much free to collapse on Yorick if they were to ever try and gank this Tryndamere. Tryndamere, it has a very large amount of safety as a result of those wards. So that's great for him. He's really far ahead and he needs to carry. Purple team needs to counter that with their own vision. They need to be clearing wards. They need to be setting up traps and setting up, more importantly, they need to be setting up objectives for themselves. Dragon is very easy for them to kill. Vayne has the true damage, which it actually is pretty good versus objectives. Warwick is also pretty decent versus objectives thanks to his attack speed steroid. So I would expect them, or I would hope anyways, that they would be placing some wards, denying vision, and then turning that into objectives and collapses onto the enemy team anytime they catch them out of position.
Right. Everyone should be buying wards. A lot of people, even though they don't say it, still have the kind of assumption that support is for wards and support and jungle should be buying wards. In reality, if you're back and you have 75 gold, buy a ward. Take a ward every time it's up. There's really no excuse not to contribute to vision on the map.
For sure. I also want to point out Morgana is saying that she thinks Twitch is making her lag, but she wants to hear what we're saying. All these matches are uploaded to YouTube, so I would recommend just closing out the stream. Advice 3 or 4 minutes in the past isn't going to be of that much use to you.
It's also pretty distracting.
For sure.
Oh shit, somebody's saying the Trist is a terrible champion in Twitch chat. You gonna take that?
I'm not that big of a fan of Trist. So
Whatever.
we see the exact opposite happening here, where blue team is using their ward coverage, using their map control to set up a free Baron, or Dragon. And then as soon as they catch out an enemy, just collapse on, stack the CC, overlap it as little as possible just to lock them in place for the longest period of time, and then getting another free kill.
Right, blue team really, it's their game to lose right now. They have such a massive goal advantage. 15 minutes, they have a 6k goal advantage. And really, their team has excellent teamfight potential. They have excellent scaling potential. So there's really no reason why they should lose unless Purple Team seriously changes up the way they play.
And unfortunately, they have the team comp on blue side that when they're ahead, they should stay ahead. They have a lot of options for both hard engage, disengage, and split push. So those are the main 3 things I look at in a team comp. How do I do in team fights? Can I hard engage a team fight? Can I disengage a team fight I don't want? And can I split push if we're behind or they're able to just sort of turtle?
Right, and all of your things are really, all of your little like notes there, they're really different from the current thought process where the game is about murdering champions. It's not about murdering champions, it's about taking towers. It's about taking down the Nexus. And if you can't do that, it doesn't matter how many kills you have.
You can be down 20,000 gold, but if you're split pushing, if you're making the enemy fumble in how they're positioned across the map, and you're picking off lone targets, then you're still going to win, or you still have the opportunity to win anyways. Someone in Twitch chat's asking about giveaways. We just gave away a $10 RP card. We're also going to be giving away a Victor poster and a number of Steam games today, so yeah.
We are also giving away the pleasure of our company.
That's a lot of pleasure. I don't think they can handle it.
That's true. We gotta tone it back, be a little surly.
It's true. So we see a very good team fight collapse coming in from blue team, where purple team sort of thinks they've caught someone. They land the Morgana ult, they land a lot of the Victor damage, but in the long term, they're just able to survive long enough on blue side that they can get in position, that they can use the Jinx ult from halfway across the map. They can use the Amumu ult to lock people in place long enough that they can sort of reset the fight and get what they want from it.
So I want to talk a little bit about synergy.
You were going to talk about synergy and then your mic cut out.
Oh, sorry, my bad. So blue team has quite a lot of champion synergy. They have Orianna, Amumu, and Leona. They all have the Wombo combo. They all have a lot of lockdown and a lot of burst damage. And then Tryndamere and Jinx are just cleanup masters, with Jinx's AoE global execute and Tryndamere being, well, Tryndamere. So they can get into a fight, they can clean up a fight, and then they can, you know, take down towers, they can disengage. Really, they have a lot of options because their team comp just works so well together. Meanwhile, purple team, they have Morgana for Wombo combo and lockdown. They have Victor stun cage and AoE, but I mean, when you look at their team comp, it seems to be more of a collection of champions rather than a cohesive team with strengths, if that makes sense.
Agreed. They're good at locking down single champions, but that's about it.
And that strength seems like it happened mostly by accident rather than planning. It doesn't look like they went, well, let's take Warwick and, you know, Vayne and so on so that we can lock down single targets and eliminate their ADC. They just individually pick champions that they're strong with, but that don't necessarily work together well as a team.
For sure. Now we're seeing the Tryndamere split push coming in. He may get taken down by this 3v1, or 4v1 now, but it's still worth it. He took a tower in the meantime. He blew a lot of ults, so there's no chance of the enemy team really team fighting at this point. And yeah, like the amount of gold that the enemy team got for shutting him down is a lot. But at this point, if blue team was all on the same page and we were maybe a few minutes later into the game so had some extra items, they could have maybe turned that into a Baron, or they could have turned that into a mid inhib, or any other objective on the map they wanted, really. Because without ults, without summoner skills, it's very difficult for them to land any sort of a fight when they're this far behind.
Right, and blue team is just pushing every advantage. Every time that they can take an objective, they do.
Your mic cut out again.
Oh my gosh. So annoying. Just blue team is just pushing every advantage they can, and they're just having that gold advantage really just stack up.
Yeah, at this point they're about 9,000 gold ahead. I don't agree with that Jinx ult. There was no chance that was going to kill. But at this point it doesn't really matter. I see Orianna sort of cycling down bot lane. There is 4 purple teams sort of collapsing in here. I would like to see a Mumu coming through, which he is doing slowly. But they need to back out in the meantime. They could get collapsed on.
So here we're seeing Jinx be greedy. She gets an Orianna shield and speed boost, and she tries to run at the enemy to shoot them. If they win, it will be because they are ahead, not because they have great decision-making skills. Amumu comes in, Orianna ult, Amumu ult. Oh my god, it's a massacre.
And that's exactly what I thought was going to happen there. They have the AoE CC, they just need it in the correct position. As soon as you're able to bait them into a tight space, such as a jungle fight like that, they can just combo it in. And they are so far ahead at this stage of the game.
We keep seeing Amumus in Workshop, and Amumu is a champion who goes through stages of popularity. He goes from permapick or ban to just being untouched for 6 months, and rinse and repeat. And the thing is, you need to invade against Amumu. You need to invade against Amumu. If you let Amumu roll around his jungle and pick up buffs, and you just don't touch him and figure, what's the harm? You're really going to regret it late game.
Yeah, it gets very painful. So again, more greed where they're trying to fight under a tower. Just take the objectives, go take blue buff, go take dragon, it's already spawned, and continue building up your global advantages.
Again, kills
Oh.
make your record look real good, but they don't win the game.
Warwick is able to smite away his blue buff, so that's a good use of wards there. I'm not sure if Amumu didn't have smite or if it... Yeah, it's on cooldown, so I'm not sure where he used it.
Trendemir is just being Trendemir right now. He split pushes top. They go to stop him. He kills two of them. He doesn't care.
And that's exactly what Trendemir needs to be doing. You are a distraction. Most top laners these days, they're treated as either a distraction or a teamfight monster. And the way you decide which one to be is based on your team comp and how ahead or behind you are.
Right. If you're the sole source of initiation on your team, top may be a problematic lane for you because it's so isolated from the rest of the action. But if you're Trindamere, if you're Shaco, if you're Quinn, you can just shove down towers. They don't really need you, and you can just be a thorn in the side of the enemy team.
And oftentimes that's also things like Renekton, where he can duel quite well late game, but his actual team fight's kind of mediocre. Ooh, more greed coming in from Amumu here. He walks up and ults. His team is not with him. He's going to be able to escape here, though, so he's not going to be in too much danger. But again, just the decision-making process there. Yes, Trindamere is able to get onto a tower, and being a distraction mid lane is awesome, but you don't need to nearly commit suicide in order to be that distraction.
I mean, blue team does have a massive advantage, but blue team also had a massive advantage last week in an amazing 50-minute throw where the tides really turned. So I'm really going to caution against all of the greed and hubris we're seeing here.
In the meantime, Trindamere does take away inhibitor turret number 1, and is probably going to get... Yeah, he's going to just walk away. In the meantime, his team gets mid. And this is exactly how you play a 4-1 split. I'm so happy to see a team doing it properly. I don't know if any of you were watching from my stream earlier. I was AP Ezreal. I was super far ahead, and I kept saying, stop fighting them. Let him push top. And this is exactly how you do it. You distract the mid lane, but you don't really fight them. You just say, yeah, if you leave, we're taking your turret. You have to fight us. You have to fight us. And then you just sort of back out and reset the fight over and over again. In the meantime, your top laner is taking away inhibs. He's taking away towers. He's taking away kills if you try and stop him.
Have you ever really looked at the chicken icon over an enemy's head when Trindamere screams? That's legitimately funny.
Yeah, you said it was made in paint, did you not?
No. His Twisted Fate's R is made in paint. That chicken icon. I don't know who made it, but it's amazing.
So, more greed coming in here. Trindamere, Jinx not staying with any of their engage or disengage on their team, and they pay the ultimate price.
Or do they?
Well, they died.
Well, yeah, but there's blue team going around to mop up, so, you know, there's that.
It's pretty much unrelated, though. Like,
I guess.
This is them catching Morgana out.
I was just trying to add some drama, gosh. Here we're seeing a little bit of hubris from Vayne. Vayne is one of those champions who, yes, you're a late game monster, but you still need to, you know, follow the rules the rest of us mere mortals do.
Yeah, that was a very sloppy fight. She was trying to trade herself out for Amumu, and... yeah, and in chat, I thought I was double lift. Unfortunately not, you were half lift.
There is nothing more frustrating than it's like a 45-minute game and you just want to surrender and there's no side and end and your Vayne's like, don't worry guys, I'm a late game carry, attacks Wraiths while they kill Baron.
Yeah, it's very disappointing seeing that.
Nothing wrong, nothing against this Vayne, it's just that Vayne is one of those champions.
Well, I found it funny earlier because the one Riven game I played for you guys, the guy was like, I thought you were going to be an asshole because you advertised a stream and played Riven. It's like, yeah, it's kind of true. Usually Rivens are kind of, it's all about me. I am the carry. And
somebody data mined the most toxic champions, and it was exactly what you would expect.
Melee carries.
Like Riven, Yi, Trindamere, all top 5. At the bottom, Sona, Nami, Soraka.
Well, Sona can't talk, so...
Report Sona, refusal to communicate. So
Exactly.
we have Trindamere, 1 versus 4. Yorick's coming around. He swings around the wall, but Warwick just ults him. They're chasing him down. Right now, he's just being a major distraction. What blue team needs to do is take advantage of it. Instead, it looks like they're going to swing around and try to turn this into a team fight.
I'm okay with that concept, but Jinx is not here.
So
Like, in theory, collapsing, it would be a good idea, but you need your AD carry.
Right now, Yakety Sax should be playing. They're just dancing around the jungle, waiting to catch each other out. But, okay, Morgana gets caught out. And the thing is, Black Shield does not stop Zenith Blade. It stops the disrupt. It doesn't stop Leona moving to you. And blue team takes advantage of that, gets 2 kills, and is just going to push to take the inhib.
Yeah, at this point they're just very, very split on purple team. Not only their communication, but their positioning. They're staying in jungle when you know the enemy team's there. Do you want to be fighting them at the moment? I don't think so. So that's something you need to be asking yourself.
I wish blue team had swung top and taken the inhibitor. Instead they're chasing kills. And again, they have such a huge goal advantage that at this point they can do basically anything and get away with it. But that's not good decision making.
Red team's turret has been destroyed. Red team's inhibitor.
Blue team takes their first inhibitor.
I want them to take the top inhib.
It looks
Jinx
like
is moving
that's
up.
what they're doing.
I don't know, they're
Hit
going
the
for minions
inhibitor.
rather than the actual inhib.
Hit the inhibitor! You're killing me!
Oh my god. Okay, she doesn't want the inhib. That made me really, really sad. Taking down a second inhib opens up the entire map to you. You can do Baron anytime you want. You can end the game anytime you want. You just need to manage the minion waves at that point. And they decided not to do it, so yeah, that's a decision.
That's a decision. That's a very kind way of putting it.
It's a decision, yeah.
That happened.
That was a thing.
This is sure is a game.
Yep.
Now we have Tryndamere
That
soloing
is a face.
Baron. The hubris.
Tryndamere actually can solo Baron, I believe.
Yeah, but not with 3 of purple team heading at him.
Well, maybe.
Vayne condemns him away and decides to start taking Baron herself, but they're taking huge damage from the acid. Meanwhile, blue team is just mopping up Morgana down bot. Purple team's like, fuck this, we're out of here.
Dragon is up as well. I don't think any team's really going to go for it at this stage of the game. At this point, it's too risky for purple team to leave their base. They'll just lose it, or they'll lose Baron. And for blue team, they should be taking or baiting Baron, or taking the top inhib. It looks like they are going to go for Dragon, which it's fine. It's a good source of global gold. But right now, they're so far ahead, they just need to end the game. And Dragon doesn't really help you do that.
Meanwhile, Tryndamere just murders Vayne. Morgana and Victor are heading for him. They're ready to brawl. I don't think Tryndamere particularly cares, though.
Yeah, Tryndamere's a little bit manly at this stage of the game. He is 13, 2, and 6. Oh, that builds. Okay.
His right arm is a lot stronger than his left arm.
For reasons, yes. So Mumu going bot. I have mentioned the 1-3-1 split before and how it can be a good option, but just end the game. You don't need to be doing this at this stage.
Amumu is also not a particularly renowned split pusher. Thank God, we need to give Trin, like, so many rewards for actually taking the top inhibitor!
It's true. It bothers me when people just don't end games.
Also, that inhibitor was just so lush, right for the taking. And they're like, nah, it's cool.
I think they're trying to leave purple team with their dignity.
It's way too late for that.
Yeah. This is just unfortunate at this stage. Like, we do try and match make things as best as we can, but there will always be one-side games, same as in any league match, because Snowball is a thing. I see the AoE ult coming in. The Orianna ult only able to connect with Morgana, though. Leona is able to get onto onto Yorick, but not onto Vayne. Tryndamere able to clean that through. The revive passive pops, though, and he is going to make it out. At this stage, just end the game.
Oh, Tryndamere senpai. I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna end the game.
Yeah, this is the end of the match here.
So do you see anything noticeable in the item builds? I noticed that Orianna doesn't have boots too. That's odd to me.
Sorry, who had no boots?
Orianna had only boots 1.
Yeah. It's sometimes worth swapping out, but I don't know why she has a Will of the Ancients.
Will of the Ancients is an item,
That's bad.
It will be coming back on, like, Vlad and Swain and, like, other Spellvamp champs. The thing is, Spellvamp and Lifesteal works on sustained damage, so with an ADC it makes a lot of sense to get Lifesteal because you're going patoo, patoo, and hitting them over and over again. With a mage, you're bursting them from 100 to 0 so fast, you don't get that much use out of Spellvamp.
Spell Thump in general is pretty just not worth it. I don't know. I'll have you go over item builds here real quickly. Brian is going to start inviting for the next game, so if you get an invite from Felvrick, please accept it. If you are new to the stream and have not played before, just mention so in chat. Brian will try and get you in if he can.
Sure, so we discussed Oriana's build a little. The Death Cap I'm also not a fan of. I would rather see Void Staff, and Will of the Ancients, the rest we all discussed. With Tryndamere, he has manly items. Static Shiv, Blade of the Ruin King, Eye Edge, lots of good items. They let him do what he needs to do. Jinx has the standard AD carry build with Bloodthirster, Shiv, Last Whisper, GA, Berserkers. That's super standard. Leona is also super standard with Mobo Boots, Face of the Mountain, Locket of the Iron Solarian, Sightstone. And
I would have liked to see a Talisman of Ascension instead. I'm not a fan of Face of the Mountain.
You really love Talisman on everyone, though, for every
It's
way.
because it's OP. Like, it's 20% CDR, it's a 60-second cooldown Shirelia's Reverie, and on someone like a Leona, especially paired with an Amumu and Oriana, you want to be able to catch people out, and having that extra move speed is essentially a guaranteed kill, because you can just walk into their team with it.
Meanwhile, Amumu has Rylai, Sunfire, Ancient Golem, Tank Boots, very, very smart, very standard. Warwick has Sunfire Cape, Ancient Golem, Tank Boots. Again, standard. He didn't get that much gold this game, but the items he could buy were good. Morgana has Spell Thief's Edge, Rod of Ancients, Seeker's Armguard. Sonya's is so core on Morgana, you should have gotten that first, pretty much. You need that for team fights.
And especially as a support, you don't really have the gold income to justify a Rod of Ages, in my opinion. Like, Rod of Ages is a fine item if you're playing mid lane, but you don't have the gold income to build your Sightstone and your Rod of Ages and your Hourglass. It's too much.
Yorick is pretty standard, so no comments there. And then Victor, we didn't like him starting with the Flask, as we mentioned, but the rest of his build's very standard. Leandre's is a good pick on Victor because his ult will refresh the dot on every tick. And Void Staff is, as previously mentioned, a better damage pick than Death Cap.
I would point out, though, Rylai's on Amumu I am not a fan of. His Q is already a stun, and every other one of his abilities is an AoE. So, personally, if I were him and I was just trying to get damage, just go for an Abyssal Scepter at that point. You're versus a Victor and a Morgana, so there's a decent amount of magic damage coming in. Warwick does some magic damage, Yorick does some magic damage. So, having the extra magic resist would be nice, and you are the one engaging usually with an Oriana ball on you. So you're going to reduce all the magic resist around you, and then Oriana is going to ult. So, I just don't like Rylai's on AoE characters. It's like every time someone suggests a Rylai's on Karma, I'm just like, no, please don't. The only thing you can slow with on her is your W. Your Q's is AoE, so it's reduced, and it's already a slow, so it's reduced even more. And so I don't know. That's just one of my pet peeves. I dislike it. Feel free to build what you want, though.
As for MVPs, I can't name an MVP for Blue Team. They all work together so well. Tryndamere is probably the best bet, but no one was carried that game. Everyone did their part. For Purple Team, I would have to say, gosh, Victor.
Yeah, he did a pretty decent job.
I mean, yes, the cards were against him, and we didn't like the Flask start, but all things considered, I'm going to have to name him Purple Team MVP.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.